Welcome students to my class of BA Part 2 English Literature. We have been studying P.B. Shelley's Ode to the West Wind, and till now we have covered the first 4 cantos of the poem. So in today's class we are going to study Canto 5, and as this is the last canto, this is the concluding lesson on Shelley's Ode to the West Wind. So let us first read aloud Canto 5. Make me thy lyre, even as the forest is. What if my leaves are falling like its own? The tumult of thy mighty harmonies will take from both a deep autumnal tone, sweet though in sadness. Be thou, spirit fierce, my spirit, be thou me, impetuous one. Drive my dead thoughts over the universe like withered leaves to quicken a new birth, and by the incantation of this verse scatter as from an unextinguished hearth ashes and sparks my words among mankind. Be through my lips to unawakened earth the trumpet of a prophecy. O wind, if winter comes, can spring be far behind? So you find that in the concluding canto, the same rhythm and the rhyme pattern is followed, but the mood has changed, and Shelley has now transformed from the poet's earlier mood of despondency and regret now to a new hope. So let us study the canto in detail. And before moving on, there are some important points related to this canto which we should focus upon. So something which is common in all the cantos before this are that the wind is very important in this last canto also. And at the beginning of the poem, the wind was only capable of blowing the leaves from the trees or the clouds. And in Canto 4, the poet had come to identify himself with the leaves. In this canto, the wind is now capable of using both of these things mentioned before, and both the things intermingle now in this canto. Everything that had been said before was part of the elements: wind, earth, water, and now the fourth element comes in, that is fire. There is also a confrontation in this canto, as you will find in comparing that in line 57 Shelley writes me thy, there is thou me in line 62. So these pronouns appear 7 times in the 5th canto, which signals a restored confidence, if not in the poet's own abilities, at least in his capacity to communicate with the wind. So we find that how the tone of the poem has changed towards the end, and the poet does find some kind of a hope in his own power as well as the power of the wind. Also, this canto is now no more a request as it had been earlier, or a prayer as it had been in the 4th canto, but it's like a demand. So the confidence of the persona seems to be now visible. The poet becomes the wind's instrument, as we will find in the first few lines, when he says that make me your lyre, that is the harp or the instrument. This is a symbol of the poet's own passivity towards the wind. He becomes his musician and the wind's breath becomes his breath. The poet's attitude towards the wind has now changed. In the first canto, the wind has been an enchanter, something which had a great power, and now the wind has become an incantation. So how the role of the wind with respect to the poet has also transformed in this canto will be highlighted. So let us focus on the first few lines. When the poet says to the wind, make me your lyre. Lyre here refers to the musical instrument or the harp, even as the forest is. So when the wind moves through thick forests, the wind is blocked by the branches, and the music that is created with the passage of the wind through the leaves and the branches, Shelley is comparing it to that. What if my leaves are falling like its own? So, here, continuing from the first canto, we find that the leaves now here refer to something which is dead, which it was being connoted to in the beginning in the first canto. Here, that deadness compares to the thoughts which have become redundant and old. And Shelley here refers to his own thoughts which have become powerless, and he wants them that they should be rejuvenated just as the wind rejuvenates in nature, the through its power, how the seeds are sown and they um rise up during the spring season. The tumult of thy mighty harmonies. So, here in the final canto, we can find the interplay of the poet power and wind, which is followed throughout the conclusion. Shelley expresses his desire to become an instrument on which the wind will play its music just as it is in the forest. Firstly, we see that behind the apparent confusion and disorder, the tumult of the autumn wind. So, the autumn wind brings with itself a lot of disorder by disorienting everything. There lie mighty harmonies. So, what is it that this order will bring finally into nature? It will bring a harmony because old will give way to new. The sadness of the dying year is a necessary prelude to the new year. So, this cyclic nature of all phenomena has been emphasized here, which is also important in case of Shelley's own growth by discarding some everything that is redundant and old. There can be no spring without winter. So, this is the message finally of the whole poem towards the end, which has been concentrated in the last canto. Like the leaves of the trees in a forest, his leaves, that is, his thoughts, will fall and decay and will perhaps soon flourish again when the spring comes. Will take from both a deep autumnal tone, sweet though in sadness. Be thou, spirit fierce, my spirit, be thou me, impetuous one. So, here, how there is an intermingling of the roles, how first the persona wants the wind to give its power to the persona, but now he wishes the confidence building up that the wind should take become as he is, and he wants him to be his spirit, my spirit, be thou me. There is sweetness behind the sadness of the dying year. The onset of winter is a necessary precondition for the arrival of spring, and Shelley wants the spirit of the wind to be his spirit. He wants the wind to be like him. So, here we find finally the poet gaining his confidence over his own powers. Drive my dead thoughts over the universe like withered leaves to quicken a new birth. So, the exclamation mark reflects the new enthusiasm in the persona, and by the incantation of this verse. So, the speaker asks the wind to drive, take away, shed his dead thoughts, so that even as he dies, others might take his thoughts and his ideas and give them new birth. Shelley wishes here for the wind to scatter his thoughts, his words, his ideas, that is his poetry, among human beings. And one of the things Shelley believed in was the power of poetry to change the world. So Shelley believed that through the ideas conveyed in poetry, world can come to a change, and people could develop their empathy and understanding of others so that the world becomes a better place. So, in this sense, writing poetry was not just a simple act of giving forth an expression of his innermost desires, but it was also a revolutionary act for Shelley. And in this final canto, the wind is called upon to scatter the poet's words among mankind. So it will become an instrument for him to, for the wind to carry thoughts of the poet worldwide. Scatter as from an unextinguished hearth, ashes and sparks, my words among mankind, be thou my lips to unawakened earth. So it is the power of nature represented here by the west wind that Shelley calls upon to enter him and give him strength. And the speaker asks the wind to scatter his thoughts, just as the ashes and sparks that come out of a fire that has not completely burnt, that his words might kindle a fire among mankind. So those ashes and sparks may kindle some kind of the similar thought in others and awaken the sleeping earth. So, what is the power of poetry has been emphasized here again in these lines. And the trumpet of a prophecy, O wind, if winter comes, can spring be far behind? So it ends with a question mark, which is a rhetoric question. The answer is obviously yes, that after the cyclic pattern in nature, winter always follows with spring. So this poem is a highly controlled text about the role of the poet as the agent of political and moral change. So the poet basically serves as a formula of words, and with the help of it, the wind should spread his message among human beings, as does the fire, which is not extinguished. And the wind is only to catch it from them and convey it to humanity. So, these lines, if winter comes, can spring be far behind, they have become very proverbial, and it reflects that in life also, like in nature, spring inevitably follows winter means that a period of sadness or disappointment will only make way for triumph and joy. And basically, Shelley here would like to want his thoughts and hopes to be carried to different parts of the world, and hopes that his dead thoughts will still come alive to inspire the world and bring about a regeneration of mankind. So, towards the end, the poet has come to enthusiastic, hopeful conclusion. And with this, we come to the end of Canto 5. Thank you.